A couple of weeks ago, Nintendo hooked us up with some gameplay of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and I must say that personally, I'm so hyped and ready to sink endless hours into this game. In this week's video, let's have a conversation about combat in Age of Calamity and how it compares to Breath of the Wild. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Zelda Theory. I'm Derek, and if this is your first time seeing my content, my channel is focused on the Legend of Zelda series. I like to consider myself just a random Zelda fan who enjoys making content for other Zelda fans. Videos here will consist highly of Breath of the Wild 2 theories, Zelda lore, Zelda gaming list, as well as Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity videos, just like this video you just clicked on. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on all notifications for brand new Zelda content every single week. I hope that if this video makes you laugh, makes you think, or changes your perspective in any way, that you would share this video with your Zelda buddies. Let's build the best Zelda empire together. So I'm sure you have seen the Age of Calamity gameplay trailer by now, and if you haven't, what have you been doing, man? Like always, I'll be sure to drop a link to that in the description below for you. Now that you are caught up, the Tokyo Game Show gave you and I an extensive first look at gameplay for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. The 50-minute showcase previewed early gameplay featuring Link, Impa, Zelda, as well as the rest of the champions fighting their way through hordes of Bokoblins. Not just Bokoblins, but you get the idea. The first thing you might notice from the intense gameplay is how extremely obvious and similar Age of Calamity looks to Breath of the Wild. The longer you stick around though and watch the gameplay, you start to notice more and more differences between the two. You're going to notice, just as I did, that not only did Nintendo borrow a lot from Breath of the Wild's gameplay, they also borrowed just as much from the original Hyrule Warriors. The gameplay for Age of Calamity showcased combat as well as an exclusive look at some of the cutscenes that happened between the combat. This was really important to me because after seeing this, it's pretty much safe to assume that this is the format we can expect to see throughout the entirety of the game. And if that's the case, man oh man, are we in for a treat. A scene that really sticks out to me is when you see Urbosa surrounded by hordes of Yiga clan members, and she literally just unleashes her lightning fury on them. Dude, you have no idea how excited I am to destroy endless hordes of those evil Yiga clan members. The satisfaction I will get, oh what a day November 20th will be. Now, unlike the traditional Zelda titles, Age of Calamity doesn't include much dungeon crawling or puzzle solving, just a whole lot of fighting. Again, if you enjoy the hack and slash genre, you will not be disappointed. Enemy camps are much larger in Age of Calamity than anything that was featured in Breath of the Wild. As a result, areas as a whole are a lot smaller in Age of Calamity than the open world landscape of Breath of the Wild, so enemies can potentially load in easier. If you missed last week's video, I go into a lot of this regarding loading times and the file size of Age of Calamity. I'll be sure to throw that up in the cards of this video as well as in the description below. Now here is something that you might have missed the first couple playbacks of the gameplay trailer. Now I only say this because that's exactly what happened to me. There actually is a KO counter, an experience bar, as well as a level number in the bottom left corner of the screen that appears every time Link defeats an enemy. It sort of looks like Age of Calamity will include a leveling system, something that you sort of see in a lot of RPGs, but not typically in a Zelda game. Do you remember a game called Dark Cloud? I know this dates way back, but it allowed the player to upgrade weapons, much like how Age of Calamity is showing in the trailer. We will be able to level up weapons and learn new attacks as they gain experience throughout the game. This is really cool. This sort of fixes the issue that a lot of us had in Breath of the Wild with the whole weapon durability problem. I know this isn't quote-unquote Breath of the Wild, like a lot of you keep pointing out to me, but I love that Nintendo is taking everything we didn't like in Breath of the Wild and trying to make it better. I love you, Nintendo. One of the most notable changes that I saw in the gameplay trailer was the addition of playable characters other than Link, which I briefly touched on in last week's video. Those characters being our beloved champions Rivali, Urbosa, Mipha, and of course Daruk. I think it's so cool to be able to quickly switch between characters like Link and Impa, and that having this feature will add a lot of creativity to Age of Calamity, as they both have distinctly different playing styles. Link uses mostly slash attacks with his sword, but also has a bow with unlimited arrows for rapid fire, with long range attacks. Impa, on the other hand, for example, has the ability to create clones of herself, as well as a number of special Sheikah techniques. Each of the other champions also has their own unique cinematic special attack that can deal heavy damage to groups of enemies. I don't know, man, just being able to witness the differences in fighting styles between Link and Impa, Zelda, as well as the other champions makes the idea of playing as all 4 champions from Breath of the Wild, as well as Zelda, all the more exciting. So the question we need to ask now is the Age of Calamity's combat similar to Breath of the Wild's? The answer is honestly yes and no. I think we first need to agree on just how amazing it is that Nintendo was able to seamlessly blend together Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity. I mean, honestly, no one predicted this scenario. Putting this point aside though for a second, the typical conventions have been put aside in order to be more familiar to people who have actually played Breath of the Wild. For example, certain skills like Link's Shield Surf being turned into a full-on dash attack are changes to features from Breath of the Wild that make them fit more naturally in a Hyrule Warriors game. Another example of this is the paraglider from Breath of the Wild. From what we have seen from the multiple Age of Calamity trailers, the paraglider also makes a return and will be important for mid-air combat. Although it's not actually clear on how exactly the paraglider will be used in the context of combat. We touched on this a little bit earlier in the video, but it does seem like weapon durability will no longer be an issue as characters come pre-equipped with items. While playing Age of Calamity, we also might be able to choose which weapon a character starts with or pick up dropped enemy weapons. An example of this is when Daruk picked up an Ice Wand in one of the recent Age of Calamity trailers. The Sheikah Slate also makes a return in Age of Calamity, but it's a bit different from the one we used in Breath of the Wild. The various runes of the Sheikah Slate are now used almost exclusively as attacks, rather than keys to solving puzzles like in Breath of the Wild. Some runes have seen some change for simplicity's sake, like the Cryonis rune no longer needs water to create ice. Others have seen a hefty boost in strength, like the Stasis rune can now freeze larger groups of enemies at a time, while the Bomb rune now allows for rapid fire bomb throwing, similar to the Hyrule Warriors. Each playable character will be able to use the Sheikah Slate, but runes seem to change slightly depending on who's wielding them. There are several other returning features from Breath of the Wild like collecting food ingredients and minerals, but there's no telling how similar they'll be to the original game just yet. I know the excitement is unreal. Age of Calamity releases very soon on November 20th, so we really don't have that much longer to wait. So I hope you truly found value in our conversation here today, my fellow Zelda fans. I sincerely hope that if this video made you laugh, made you think, or made you change your perspective in any way, that you would share this video with a friend, have them check out the other Zelda content on the channel as well. This not only helps grow the channel, but it also will provide value to more Zelda fans. Again, I can't thank you enough for your continued support. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications, continue to be the light, and remember, it is dangerous to go alone. Let's talk soon.